Welcome, everybody, to a critical market alert. We are giving you some information which we think is important that's going to happen in the next 24 hours. The BOJ are reporting their interest rate decision, and it could send markets into a tailspin. So, of course, Japan is a land of incredible beauty, cultural excellence, and, of course, up until recently, of no interest rates. The BOJ shocked markets last year, where the BOJ governor increased rates for the first time in a couple of decades. Markets are anticipating a BOJ announcement of a rise in interest rates on Friday to the highest level in 30 years. The press conference that follows that rate decision is as much of interest, with the expected tone of the narrative unsure. Some would suggest that it could be more hawkish than expected. This could create a major market incident, and hence why we're putting this video out. So what could this mean? Well, first of all, it's all to do with the carry trade. Carry trade, essentially, in very simple terms, is where you borrow in a low interest rate currency such as the yen and then buy assets, potentially US denominated ones, that are a higher interest rate. When interest rates rise, for example, in Japan, then what happens, of course, is there's a potential unwinding of that trade and a contraction in liquidity. This can cause several key major events in markets. So that BOJ rate hike plus a more hawkish tone than expected raises the probability of, first of all, significant downside in US equities. We'll get people selling equities, cashing them up. Of course, we've had a great year for US equities, so that would be a great time to take profit. We'll see movements in the USD, particularly, of course, versus the Japanese yen and potentially Bitcoin, especially if it triggers a broader carry unwind and liquidity contraction. Now, really important to take this point on board. The speed and severity of market moves will depend on positioning and surprise, not just the headline move. Remember, there is around about an 80% chance of that rate hike, but it's the narrative that goes along with that that's going to be potentially more surprising. That's what's important. Why are we referencing Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin also, if we look at a chart, is positioning itself at a very interesting technical point. You can see that line there at around about 84,700. It also corresponds to price levels back here in the earlier part of the year in March and April, and we're poised above a support level. If we breach that, then that will precipitate some more selling, and the BOJ could be one of the catalysts that creates that to happen. A potential move down for an asset that's already down 36% since the beginning of October could see it down all the way, potentially, to test this $75,000 level. So, irrespective of the assets you're in, it's worthwhile being aware of this, position yourself accordingly, and making sure that you have things like stops and trail stops in place accordingly. Hope that's been useful. We'll see you again soon.